She left school at 16 with few qualifications and little knowledge of politics. She only came into the House of Commons 2 years ago in 2015, but she has risen like a rocket and is now in charge of Labour's education policy herself. The Shadow Education Secretary joins me now. Thanks for coming in, Angela Rayner. Can I ask you, first of all, about access to education? Is it true that fewer working-class kids are getting into university education as a result of the tuition fees
Well,
policy?
you know, Andrew, I don't believe that that's the case, actually, but I do believe that many working-class and part-time and older, mature students are actually leaving university. And there's three things that the coalition government helped with the Conservatives that they've done that have led to the disastrous situation that we're in today. Of course, you mentioned the hike in tuition fees, but there was the removal of the maintenance grants, there was the increase in the percentage of the loans. They changed it so they couldn't use the base rate of the Bank of England, and they upped the amount of percentage that people paid that I believe actually directly impacted. And of course the thresholds of income, which has made that more students will pay back more from the beginning as well.
All of those things may be true, but nevertheless the Labour policy is predicated on something that Jeremy Corbyn said. He said fewer working class young people are applying to university. That is not true, is it?
Well, what's happening actually is more working class people are coming out of university and they're leaving with considerable amount of debts.
Many more are going in. Many
so
more are
five times more are actually coming out of university and not being able to finish their degrees. And I think that's as a direct impact of some of the government changes, like I say, on maintenance grants.
I want to come on to all of that, but again, one more time, very straightforwardly, is it true that fewer working class young people are applying to university?
Well, what's fantastic, and I think it's because of the last...
It's not true, is it?
The last Labour government did a huge amount to encourage aspirations to get more working class people into universities. And of course, we've got record levels of people applying for universities.
Listen, we have one small problem here, which is I'm reading you out something that Jeremy Corbyn said, which isn't true. And I'm asking you if it's true, and you're giving me answers to other things.
Well, no, I'm clarifying that I believe more students are going into university.
So they are, so that's
but there's record levels of students that are actually having to leave university before they've finished their qualifications. And I think that's because of the government's policies. They've done away with maintenance grants. They've increased the percentage rates of loans, which you've talked about earlier in the programme, and they've lowered the threshold for income so that people are paying more early on.
Because it's not a marginal point at all. 73% more people from working class backgrounds have gone to university since the tuition fees policy was introduced. It's gone up enormously.
And the amount of people that are actually having to leave university before they've even got their qualifications has gone up enormously as well. And part-time students and mature students as well. Over 50% are having to leave their college courses, their university courses, before they've completed them. And that, I think, is directly as a result of the current policies of this government.
I'm not defending the current policy. I'm just suggesting that, for instance, 22% of children who are eligible for free school meals now go to university. Before this policy, it was 3% or 4%. It's a huge increase. And yes, some people fall out of the other end and get into financial trouble, but many, many more people are going in the first place.
Well, it's great that many are going. And actually, one of the things that's happening as well, Andrew, is many people are leaving university and unfortunately are having to go to jobs where they're not able to utilise their degrees as well. And I think that's a real scandal. And that's why we've had a policy of looking at FE as well in the further education, colleges and technical education, because I think it's about lifelong learning for everybody, not just about that particular area.
So my point to you is you're spending at the moment as a party, you want to spend about £11 billion ending this tuition fee policy. Much of that money will go to relatively affluent middle class and upper middle class families and children. Would it not be better to spend that kind of money on getting rid of, replacing some of the tax breaks that have been taken away by the Tories for working class, the children's tax breaks and so forth, and spending it at the bottom end of society? Because the Fabian Society say you would actually make poorer families worse off compared to better off families.
Well, it's 9.5 billion, the amount that will take for the student loans company to reverse the tuition fees.
Plus the maintenance grants.
And then, of course, the maintenance grants, which are for the most disadvantaged of students. And I think that's really progressive. But I make no apologies for actually a huge amount of our manifesto was about our National Education Service. And we talked about early years, we talked about Sure Start centres, which was the last Labour government that introduced them. We've lost a tremendous amount of our early years centres under the Coalition and the Conservatives. So we talked about a whole package package arranged from the early years, cradle till grave, a national education service, which was about making sure that everyone has access to education. Because we know, Andrew, that that's how you make social progression.
Absolutely
that's how
right.
you ensure
Absolutely
that people can
right.
get on in life.
But right at the end of the campaign, I think 7 days before polling, Jeremy Corbyn said that he wanted to think about wiping out the current student debt, which is a vast amount of money.
It is.
And he said that you are now going to be working on that policy. Now, that's not funded at the moment. Have you been working on that policy? Do you have any numbers about how much that's going to cost?
Well, Andrew, it's a big abacus that I'm working on with that. It is a huge amount. It's 100 billion, which they estimate currently, which will increase. It's a huge amount of money. But, of course, we also know that a third of that is never repaid. You know, it's a treasury trick.
Were you surprised to be handed that abacus right at the last minute?
Well, I like a challenge, Andrew, but, you know, we've got to start dealing with this debt crisis that we're foisting on our young people. It's not acceptable. They're leaving university with £57,000 worth of debt. It's completely unsustainable, and we've got to start tackling that. There's three things I call on the government to do that they can do immediately. They can reverse the maintenance grants, abolishing that. That will help the most disadvantaged students. They could stop and reduce the percentage rate that students have to pay on their loans, and they can ensure that the amount that they repay, the income threshold, goes up in line with average earnings. There are three things that the Conservatives can do before September that will help students out.
Aren't you just simply spraying around huge spending promises too recklessly? I mean, another £100 billion on tuition fees right at the last minute. That's some sofa you have to find.
Well, like you said, Jeremy said that that's an ambition. It's something that he'd like to do. It's something that we will not announce that we're doing unless we can afford to do that.
All right, can I turn to recent events? You're at the Durham Miners Gala. There's a picture of you with Jeremy Corbyn there, I think, doing a selfie from thing. Yeah. And they were chanting your name, and you are now a big part of the current Labour leadership group. Can I ask you what you feel about the fact that so many of your colleagues were disinvited to that event? They were told they hadn't been supportive enough of Jeremy Corbyn and they were not going to be given hospitality by the Durham Miners.
Well, I don't like anything in the Labour family that disenfranchises any part of our movement because, of course, we are a big movement and we're all the better for it. And, you know, at the moment, we should be concentrating on making sure we're ready for a next general election because that manifesto, Andrew, I believe was the best manifesto Labour had done since the 1945 Labour manifesto, and I think it offers hope. And if we're divided and we're fighting each other, we're not going to be able to implement that.
Because I noticed after the Luciana Berger row, one thing that was very obvious, not much was obvious about it, one thing was obvious was the almost complete silence from colleagues coming out to speak in her support. Can you say something in her support? Because you're not sounding like a terribly comradely party at the moment.
Oh, no, we are. And, you know, Luciana, I worked with Luciana on Campaign for Mental Health because, I personally have been affected by that with my mum since I was about the age of 10. So I know how it affects families. And Luciana has done a tremendous amount of work. She's an absolute valued member of the team. And, anyone that talks of deselecting any of my colleagues, quite frankly, they need to think about actually who are the real enemy here, who are making the problems for our communities at the moment, who have made those disastrous policies that are hurting the people that need us the most, and it doesn't help them if we're fighting each other.
Don't talk about deselection. And what about those people who say we're actually too broad a church in the Labour Party, we ought to be a narrower church?
I love the church that I'm in the Labour Party, Andrew. It's my religion. I've been born and raised in the Labour movement and I'll continue to be happy that it's as vibrant and as democratic as it is.
Angela Rayner, it's been great talking to you. Thank you very much indeed.